Oceans, pages 14 through 19. If you visit the shore, you'll soon notice the daily rise and fall of the water, which we call tides. Tides are caused by the gravitational pull of the moon and the sun. Even though the moon is much smaller than the sun, the moon is so much closer to the earth that its pull is much stronger. As the earth rotates, the ocean waters nearest the moon are pulled outward in a traveling bulge called high tide. There is also a traveling tidal bulge on the side of the earth opposite the moon. Here, the moon's pull on the waters is less, so there is a second high tide. Because of the double tidal bulges, most places on the coast have two high and low tides every 24 hours and 50 minutes. See, moon pulling here in the bulges in the center. We call that a spring tide. Twice a month, when the sun and the moon are lined up with the earth, their gravitational pulls combine and produce the biggest tides called spring tides. The sun and the moon also pull at right angles, to each other twice a month. Then we get the smallest tides called neap tides. So you can kind of see here the direction here for the spring tide, the biggest tides. And then for our neap tide, because the moon is up here and the sun is here, they're forming a 90-degree angle. It changes it, so it's a smaller tide. See here. Even in places close together, tides do not always occur at the same time or have the same size. The time and size of the tides depend on the shape of the shore and the width of the gulfs and bays. Think of an ocean as a kind of large, shallow pan of water sloshing back and forth. The water in the middle of the ocean moves up and down very little. The water at each end of the ocean moves up and down much more. Because of this, islands in the middle of the ocean, such as Hawaii, often have small tides compared to the lands around the edges of the ocean. If a tide can spread out, such as a wide Gulf of Mexico, it may rise and fall only a few inches a day. When the tide cannot spread out, the tides are much greater. The photos show an inlet in the narrow bay of Fundy in Nova Scotia, where the high tide may be 50 feet higher than low tide. The waves commonly called tidal waves really have no connection with the daily tides. The name scientists use for this kind of wave is tsunami, pronounced tsunami, a Japanese word for sea wave. A tsunami is generated by a violent undersea earthquake or volcanic explosion. The shock forms a wave that can move across an ocean at 500 miles per hour, as fast as a jet plane. In the open ocean, a tsunami is only 2 or 3 feet high and hardly noticeable. But when it approaches the shore, a tsunami may build up a huge size and hit with the force of a runaway train. On December 26, 2004, a tsunami battered the island of Sumatra in Indonesia. The photograph shows the city of Banda Aceh still flooded a month later. The underwater earthquake that triggered the Sumatra tsunami created the longest fault rupture ever recorded. The rupture in the seafloor is nearly 800 miles long, and the earth is ripped apart by as much as 50 feet